characters are actually stored in memory as integers. Characters are stored as integers, and on most systems, this is as a ASCII code. So we've been spending a lot of time comparing numbers, so it turns out we can actually compare characters as well, because characters are stored as integers. And so basically, if we look at some of the ASCII codes, so if we look at, say, 0, and the 0 is an integer because it has a single quote around it, so 0 through 9, if we look at the ASCII codes for these are stored as 48 through 57. So in other words, 0 is stored as 48, 1 is stored as 49, 2 is stored as 50, and so on. Characters, so actually these numbers are characters since they're in the single quote, but if we now look at, say, capital A through capital Z, these are stored as ASCII codes as 65 through 90, and lowercase a through z, lowercase z, are stored as 97 through 122. And then there's also some other symbols and things. So for instance, a blank, like just a blank space, is stored as 32. A period is stored as 46. So what we can do is we could say something like going back to our conditional operators, we could say something like, is A, and this is the character, less than B. So what this is comparing is, in ASCII, A is equal to 65 and B is equal to 66. So this statement here is literally comparing, is 65 less than 66. This is true because 65 is less than 66. If we had, say, is B less than A, now this is comparing, is 66 less than 65. It isn't, so this statement would be false. So we can also compare strings. So let's say that we have string 1 is equal to A, B, C. And remember, for strings, we need a double quote. So if we have a character, we use single quotes. If we have a string, we use double quotes. And then string 2 is equal to X, Y, Z. And then let's say that we do is string 1 less than string 2. So what this is going to do is it's going to go through and compare each character one at a time. So this is going to look at, okay, is A less than X? So I'm looking at the first characters. The ASCII code for A is 65, and X, I think it's 87, but I could be wrong. Anyway, but 65 is less than whatever X is. This is true. Let's say we have something like string 1 is equal to, write this better, Mary, and string 2 is equal to Mark. And then let's say that we do is string 1 less than string 2. So this is going to, first of all, compare the M and the M. Those are the same, so far it's not sure. So now it's going to compare the two A's. Those are also the same. They're both equal to 97. And then it's going to compare the R's. Those are also the same. And then it's going to compare the Y and the k. So it's going to see, is y less than k? Well, y has a higher ASCII value than k does, so y is not less than k, so this is going to be false. So we can compare both characters and strings using our relational operators. So these are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and is equal to. An example of let's look at some example code for comparing characters. So what we're doing here is we're doing cout, and we're asking the user to enter a digit or a letter. And then we're going to get whatever they enter. They could enter a digit, so that would be anything between 0 and 9, or they could enter a letter. And what we want to do is we want to determine what the user entered. So we want to determine, okay, did they enter a digit? Did they enter an uppercase letter, or did they enter a lowercase letter? And remember the ASCII codes, so if they 0 through 9 are 48 through 57, A through Z is 65 through 90, and lowercase a through lowercase z is 97 through 122. So based on the ASCII codes, or because these digits and letters are stored with different ASCII codes, we can determine what the user entered, like if they entered a digit, if they entered an uppercase letter, or if they entered a lowercase letter. So what we're going to do, so we get whatever the user entered with the cn.get, store it to the ch variable, and then what we want to do is determine what the user entered. So we have if whatever is stored in this variable is greater than or equal to the character 0 and less than or equal to the character 9, then we're going to cout you entered a digit. Else if the character is greater than or equal to the uppercase A and less than or equal to uppercase Z, we're going to cout you entered an uppercase letter. Else if character is greater than or equal to lowercase a and character is less than or equal to lowercase z, we're going to cout you entered a lowercase letter. Else, and then we have our trailing else in case they didn't enter a digit or a letter, and we're going to cout this is not a digit or a letter. So they could have entered a space or a period or some other type of something else, but basically not a digit or a character. So let's look at this example for comparing strings. So let's say that we want to figure out what part number someone entered, and let's say that we have two part numbers, so we have these, and so we would ask the user, so what we're doing in this code is we're asking the user for the part number, and then we're going to display the price that part number is. So this is just the if-else-if statement for this code, but basically our part numbers are strings, and we know that because, well, first of all, it's a bunch of characters, but also we have this double quote here, and so remember strings are in double quotes. So what we're going to do is say if part number is equal to the string, then we're going to output the price for that part number. Else if part number is equal to this string, then we're going to display the price for that part number. Else, we have our trailing else, we're going to say the part number entered is not a valid part number. So this part number here is what we're asking the user for. So we're going to have a cin and then part number.